The Egyptians and the Mayans never met. They didn't trade, they didn't write letters, they had absolutely zero contact with each other. And yet, somehow, both of them looked at a pile of rocks and thought, yeah, let's make that into a giant triangle. That's not a coincidence. That's something weirder. Pyramids show up in Egypt, Mexico, Guatemala, Sudan, Cambodia, China, and even ancient Rome. Dozens of completely separate civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and thousands of years, all landed on the same basic shape. At some point you have to ask, is the pyramid just the correct answer? Now before you say aliens, let's pump the brakes. The real explanation is both more boring and somehow more fascinating than little green men with architectural opinions. It comes down to physics, psychology, and what happens when a lot of humans try to build something really, really tall. Let's start with the obvious problem: gravity. If you want to build something tall out of heavy materials like stone, you have a fundamental engineering challenge. The taller it gets, the more it wants to fall over and crush everyone involved, which is generally considered bad project management. The solution that physics essentially forces on you is to make the base wider than the top. Spread the weight out. Give it stability. The more you do this, the more your building starts to look like, well, a pyramid. Nature basically designed it for you. This is what engineers call a compression structure. The weight pushes down and outward, and the wide base handles it. It's the same reason mountains are wide at the bottom and pointy at the top. Pyramids are basically just man-made mountains, which is either profound or extremely obvious depending on your morning coffee intake. So the pyramid shape isn't a cultural invention. It's more like a mathematical discovery. Any civilization that wanted to build tall structures without modern steel and concrete was eventually going to stumble into the same geometric solution. The universe has opinions about architecture, apparently. But here's where it gets interesting. Just because everyone ends up with a pyramid shape doesn't explain why they all wanted to build something massive in the first place. For that, we need to talk about power, religion, and humanity's deeply embarrassing need to impress each other. Across almost every ancient culture, tall things meant important things. Mountains were where the gods lived. The sky was divine. The higher you could get, the closer you were to whatever cosmic power was running the show. Building tall was basically sending a very expensive prayer. The Mesopotamians built ziggurats, which were giant stepped pyramids meant to be artificial mountain inns. They literally called them the house between heaven and earth. They weren't being poetic. They genuinely believed the gods would come hang out there if the building was tall enough. The Egyptians had a slightly different take. The pyramids at Giza were tombs, designed to launch dead pharaohs into the afterlife. The pyramid shape itself may have represented the rays of the sun descending from the sky, so it was basically a giant supernatural launch ramp for a corpse. Meanwhile, in Mesoamerica, the Mayans and Aztecs built their pyramids as stages for religious ceremonies. These weren't tombs, they were performance venues. You'd climb to the top, do your rituals, and everyone below could see you and the gods at the same time. Excellent sightlines. So we've got the same shapes serving completely different spiritual purposes across the world. One civilization's launchpad is another civilization's stage. But here's a question nobody asks enough. How did anyone actually build these things? The Great Pyramid of Giza contains about 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing between 2 and 80 tons. Building it required moving roughly 800 tons of stone every single day for 20 years. That is an insane logistical operation with no forklifts, no cranes, and no project management software. And contrary to what Hollywood loves to suggest, the Egyptian pyramids were not built by slaves. Archaeological evidence points to a workforce of skilled, paid workers who got medical care, had their own village, and were apparently quite proud of their jobs. We found graffiti left by work gangs with names like Friends of Khufu, ancient workaholics. The logistics alone tell you something important. You can only build a pyramid if you have a centralized, organized society with enough surplus food to feed thousands of workers who aren't farming. Pyramids don't just reflect power, they require it. They're proof that a civilization has got its act together. This is actually one of the most elegant things about pyramids as historical artifacts. They're not just monuments, they're receipts. A pyramid tells you that a society had agriculture, administration, religion, mathematics, and ambition all working together at the same time. Big triangle, big implications. Now let's address the elephant in the desert. Some people argue that these civilizations couldn't have independently invented pyramids. that there must have been contact, or a shared origin, or something connecting them. It's a tempting idea, and it's almost certainly wrong. The pyramids of Egypt and the pyramids of Mesoamerica weren't built at the same time. The Great Pyramid was completed around 2560 BC. The major Mayan pyramids were being built over 2,000 years later. If someone was sharing blueprints, the postal service was absolutely terrible. The structures also look quite different up close. Egyptian pyramids have smooth sides and are purely tombs. Mayan pyramids have stepped sides and flat tops for ceremonies. Nubian pyramids are much steeper and narrower. They all followed the same physics but arrived at their own aesthetic. Like how all cultures invented soup, but nobody's soup is the same. There's also a fascinating psychological angle here. Humans are really good at pattern recognition, and we're drawn to permanence. A pyramid made of stone says something that a wooden building simply cannot. I was here, and I intend to stay here, forever. It's architecture as ego, and it works. The pyramids at Giza have been standing for 4,500 years. They were already ancient when Cleopatra was alive. She was closer in time to us than she was to the pyramid builders. Let that sink in for a moment and feel appropriately small. So we have physics pushing civilizations toward the pyramid shape, religion pulling them upward toward the sky, and power requiring a monument that screams, "We are serious people." Three completely separate forces all pointing at the same solution. The pyramid wasn't inevitable, but it was pretty close. And here's a fun wrinkle. We're still building them. Glass pyramids sit outside the Louvre in Paris. The Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas is a giant black pyramid with a beam of light shooting from its top. The Transamerica Pyramid in San Francisco is a major skyscraper. We haven't stopped. We just added electricity. There's something almost comforting about that. 12,000 years of human civilization, and we're still making the same shape. Not because we have to anymore, but because something about it just feels right. The pyramid is hardwired into our aesthetic sense at this point. So to bring it all together, ancient civilizations built pyramids because physics made it the obvious structural solution. Religion made tall things sacred. Rulers needed monuments worthy of their ambition. And once you stack those three things together, a giant triangle is basically what you get. No conspiracy required. What's genuinely remarkable isn't that they all built pyramids. It's that humans across completely different continents, languages, beliefs, and centuries all looked up at the sky with the same hunger. They all wanted to reach something beyond themselves. The pyramid is just what that hunger looks like in stone. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. We have no idea what we're doing. We're working with limited resources. We're going to die. And yet somehow we find the time and the audacity to build something that will outlast us by thousands of years. Seems inefficient. Seems completely worth it.